In this video, we will be going over how to take your first trade in your live account without fear. And I'm going to give you an example of how I took my first trade and how I got over that fear. I got a comment in my TikTok video that this guy, he was afraid to go live, even though he had profited $1 million. And in my Thinkorswim, I get 100,000. I don't know what he started with, but it sounded like he started with 100,000, and now he's profited $1 million, and he's afraid to go live. So I would say the first step in going live is to the money that you are putting into that live trading account, remember it's money that you can lose. So if you decide now the PDT rule is gone, you decide to say, let's put $2,000 in. It's not money that is for my rent. It's not money that I've saved for emergencies. It's none of that. It's, hey, I put away this money to just day trade with, and I don't care if I lose it or not. So just remember that part. And then also, I hope that you have a routine in the morning and a strategy that is, what that strategy is. If it's, a breakout strategy, if it's a pullback strategy, if it's buying off support, know that. So just say that that's the strategy that I use every time that I take a trade, and I know it. I know it with confidence. A good book to buy is Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas, because he's saying that you're just taking a series of trades and it's probability. But as long as you have a plan and a setup, then you have to trust yourself. At this point, if you've been paper trading for a while, then you should trust yourself by now. You know how to take the trade, you know how to get in the trade, you know how to get out of the trade, you know what your stop loss is, but it continues over time. If you've been trading maybe for just like a year, it gets better and better and better, and you're still going to take losses. And speaking of losses, you have to know how to just, take it to the chin, like they said. I always say my rule number 4 is have ice water for blood. That means that I'm going to move on. If I take a loss, I'm going to move on to the next one. And I'm not going to take it personal. I'm going to move on to the next trade until I find a trade setup that works for me. And that is my strategy. First trade. So I had been trading probably for like 2 years. And I realized that when I was in a winning trade, okay, my paper trading account, that's, you know what it is. It's just, you have all the confidence in the world. You don't care if you lose money or not. But what I did is I set my my paper trading account back to like $5,000 because I knew that was the amount of money I was going to trade with. So I set it back, and then I started just taking smarter trades. That's something that you can do, is actually just, because, with your paper trading account, I used to take a trade that was like, a $30,000 trade, $50,000 trade, $120,000 trade. And so I would using like 3,000 shares, 5,000 shares, 10,000 shares. So it was, in the beginning, that's not the type of money I really had. There was a time about 2 years or so, about 3 years into my trading. About 3 years into my day trading journey, I decided to trade a prop firm because I wanted more money and I want to be able to trade with more capital. So I started trading, and I noticed my hands were sweating because I started using this new platform. I usually use Thinkorswim. My hands were sweating. I would start taking random trades, and I knew at the time I was doing a micro pullback like Ross Cameron. So I was doing a micro pullback strategy, and it was his strategy. You know how it is. It's someone else's strategy, trying to do his strategy, but that was what I was working on, and I thought I kind of had perfected it. And of course, in my paper trading account, it was great. I'd make thousands of dollars. And so then, in my live account, I was making a lot of money, and I was starting to actually make money. And so, but all I needed is more capital to trade with. And so I it's called day trading. It's called Trade the Pool. And I sign up for that prop firm. I think I paid like $80 for it. And, but when I was starting to trade, I was so afraid. And it reminded me of when I first started trading. So when you're first starting trading, you're live, you guys, it feels like the market is going so fast and you gotta be anxious and I gotta get filled and I gotta get in and out. But you know what you have to do is slow down. So as I was in this prop firm challenge and it had all these rules and everything, that's when I really started to journal. So as I would get anxious, my hands would sweat, I started noticing that, damn, I didn't even hardly take a breath. And I was really afraid like somebody was going to, running after me or something. So what I started to do is start really journaling. I would put on a trade, then I would start journaling and saying how I felt. Do I feel worthy? I felt unworthy, or why am I afraid to hold on to this trade? And so what I would do is I would get out too fast and get stopped out so quickly, but then I wouldn't let the runners run. So then I would just I remember, I'll never forget, I was in a trade. It was going my way. I was all so excited. I think it was like a $10,000 trade. And all of a sudden, it just turned on me. But I didn't put in a trailing stop. I was feeling nervous. I didn't take a deep breath. So I just started really journaling and going back to see what I did wrong. So how what I saw was like, you were afraid to win, Carolyn. So just remember, you guys, like, what are you afraid of when you're actually winning? What are you afraid of when you're losing? When I'm winning, I'm afraid that it's so much money, I don't know if I can handle it. That's a mindset issue. Then when you're losing, you're a fucking loser and you are when you're losing, you're a loser. You're thinking in your head, you're a loser, you're dumb, you didn't figure this out yet. You didn't figure day trading out yet. I'm telling you, that was all in my mind. Carolyn, you haven't figured day trading out yet. You've been doing this for 3 years. So it was just me beating myself up. So then I have to start saying affirmations to myself. You know what you're doing, Carolyn. You know your setup. So then what I had to start doing is checking my setup. That's when I created the journals that you see today. I started creating those for my own self. And then I said, I noticed this would help other people. I've always journaled, but I had to remember one thing I don't think I was doing. I was not obeying my rules. I didn't obey the one rule that was so important. I will obey my stop. I would hold on to that trade for so long, then the trade would go against me. I didn't think to put a trailing stop in there after I've been trading for a amount of years. I didn't put a trailing stop. Usually in my own live account, I stopped doing the stops because I hate getting stopped out. So I would just manually think I'm going to do it. And then I would do it at that point. So I had kind of started to just do it that way. And then when I was challenged, I had to master putting in OCO brackets, following my rule of I will obey my stop. That's my rule number 16. If I could say anything to you, it would be to have rules, follow your rules, and then pat yourself on the back when you follow those rules. Have a plan each morning and a routine. And then you also need to stick with your setup. You cannot just say, like, I just want to win a trade. And you know what? I know it's not a range break, but I'm gonna just get in this trade anyway. It looks like it's going up. That you just have to say, this is the type of trader I am, and I have to stick to that. Even though you see something moving, FOMO, fear of missing out, you just have to let it go because that is not your strategy. That is not your. So that was like my wake up call to to trade without fear. That was my wake up call that I was afraid to win. And so then from then on, once I realized that and I went back to my journals and read what I wrote and saw how I felt, finally, I got to the point where, you know what a key point was? I didn't know my platform very well. I was in Thinkorswim, safe in Thinkorswim. I had done paper trading, then I did a live, and then I moved to trade the pool. And what I had to do is I learned their platform. So I had the live evaluation. Then what I did is went back to the demo and really learned the platform. And then I learned, because at the time I think their stop loss was a little wanky, whatever you call it. Their stop loss, the way they had it, was a little bit weird. So their platform got better. So I was able, every single time I practiced, put in a stop. What I would do is I would put in an order, limit order, then I would put in my stop loss order, then I would put in the trade take profit. And they have these brackets, but they can be kind of weird. So I just realized I have to be comfortable and in control of my platform, and then I'll feel less afraid to make the trade. And then I'll feel like, oh no, it's going to go against me. Number two, I was afraid of being stupid. I'm not going to lie to you. I was afraid of feeling like a dummy because I felt stupid. I'm not going to lie to you. So that was another thing, is if I take a loss, then I'm stupid. If I miss another trade, I'm stupid. If I don't pass this evaluation, I don't know how to trade. And that's not true. So you just have to, speak positive affirmations into yourself, and you have to do that. Otherwise, you're just going to get stuck in that no profit zone. I hope this video helped you, and I'll see you in the next one.